Tom Curran's Patriots Talk podcast is presented by FanDuel Sportsbook. Make every moment more.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome into Tom Curran's Patriots Talk podcast. It's the aftermath. Patriots lose 21-17 to the Las Vegas Raiders. They're now 1-5. They have the Buffalo Bills and the Miami Dolphins. Couple of intra-division games coming up. So good chance for the Patriots to make some hay in the AFC East. Are you out of your mind, Tom? Yes, I am. Here's what Bill Belichick had to say after last week's embarrassment at the hands of the New Orleans Saints.
You guys need to start over. Have you ever had to do that before, 5 games into the season, just for reference? I mean, is it something new?
Yeah, I've done it before.
What does that entail, starting over?
Starting over.
So the upshot of it was that the Patriots were going to turn over a new leaf. They're going to get back to fundamentals, back to basics. They're going to make things happen the way they used to make them happen, be situationally smart and disciplined. In the first quarter, the Raiders got the ball. They had 3 third down conversions, and then when forced to kick a field goal, that field goal attempt was wiped out, and they were given another first down after Sam Roberts leveraged. And yes, he did leverage, even though it seemed like a crap call. Well, how'd the Patriots respond on offense? That had to be better, right? No. Vidarian Lowe, false start on the first play of the game for the Patriots offense, and that was just the tip of the iceberg for him. Then Trent Brown ineligibly downfield, and then a pass out to the right flat that Ramondre Stevenson dropped. Of course, the ball was timed. It clocked at 2.3 miles per hour on its way out there. Ramondre was probably saying, get here soon. I'm going to get murdered when it gets here. Still, he should have caught it. Followed by a shank punt. Soon thereafter, I'm not going to go through the whole damn game for you because you watched it until you got sick of it. You saw Jacoby Myers with a 32-yard reception from Jimmy Garoppolo at the end of the first, and that soon followed a touchdown pass to Jacoby Myers from 12 yards out to put the Las Vegas Raiders up 10-0. And then after a field goal from the Patriots, despite the offensive holding call on Hunter Henry, wiping out a 74-yard catch-and-run touchdown, Ken, a marginal call on old Hunter. It was 10-3 because they settled for the field goal, and then Mac did his Mac thing and threw a pick. So they started like ass, and they ended like ass because even though they had a nice little drive in the third quarter and they narrowed things, they were still able in crunch time to glacially orchestrate a 17-play, 70-yard drive. No, 17-play, 75-yard drive that was punctuated at the end by an illegal shift, by a false start. And when the roughing the passer call came in, this is too long. You know what? This is bottom line too long. But you had all that kind of slow execution, the turnover from Mac requisite, and then the safety at the end of the game after the J.C. Jackson. I mean, you watched it. I'm going chronological and messing things up. Bill, how did the players respond?
Obviously, Mac coming off a couple of tough games. How do you think he responded this week in practice and then today in the game?
I think we, as a team, we all responded. They all responded pretty well, competed well. We just, like I said, we just didn't make enough plays to win.
All right, so Bill says they responded well. Speaking of responses, here's Devontae Parker, the Patriots' number 1 wideout, the guy they gave a pay bump to, the guy who seemingly was miffed at the Patriots' courtship of DeAndre Hopkins. Here's Devontae Parker's reaction when questioned about the drop that would have put the Patriots on the edge of field goal range and perhaps delivered them their second win of the year.
What happened on that deep ball on the last drive? Looked like you got behind the coverage.
See, I don't know. What'd you see?
Looked like you got behind the coverage. Ball was there.
Yeah, I guess that's just what happened. I'm just behind the coverage. Next.
Did you get your fingers on the ball?
Probably, I think my fingertips, but I didn't get a whole full grasp of it.
Do you feel like that's a ball that you can catch?
I think so. I mean, fingertips, I don't know. But
Now, it's hard on reporters. It is. When a guy's already pissed off and he says, what did you see? Because the obvious answer to what did you see is, because we do have an opportunity in the press box to look at the replays. I don't know. Devontae, I saw a drop. But that's going to go over like the proverbial fart in church. So you just say, look like maybe your hand touched it, whatever was said there. But there is a defensiveness and a siege mentality that we're seeing. And Phil Perry squeezed off the last question in the press conference to Bill Belichick about penalties. Bill answered as if like this is a new thing.
Bill, you mentioned not a good formula to have the penalties that you guys had today, but what, in your opinion, is the root cause of the number of penalties you guys had today?
Yeah, I'll have to take a look at them, I mean, we had a holding call, we had a pass interference call, to see their call. I guess the false start was a false start, so. Yeah.
Here's the aforementioned Phil Perry right now, and when we were on Postgame Live, I asked Phil about the team's identity as he sees it, and here was his very succinct, concise answer to that. It's better than mine, what I was doing at the beginning. Hi, Phil. Throw to your sound.
Oh, sound.
What is the team's identity right now? Is there one thing that they can say, well, at least we can do that?
Well, what they wanted to do, which is what they always want to do. They're a Northeast team. There's a Bill Belichick coach team. They want to be able to run the football. They want to be tough. They want to run the ball, stop the run, and cover kicks. And I think they really tried this week, it's my understanding, to sort of reaffirm what that identity was. A lot of heavy personnel packages, a lot of multiple tight ends and multiple running back sets to really help establish, hey, we're going to be the tougher team most weeks when we step foot onto a football field. And they tried today. They start under center, first 2 plays of the game. But again, penalty, 2 plays later, punt. They go with heavy personnel packages their second drive, and they try to get things going there, and they're able to get a total of 3 yards rushing on their first 2 handoffs, and then they have to punt another 3 and out. They had that, what looked like a promising drive, long completion to Ezekiel Elliott. It looks like a long touchdown. They're using heavy personnel packages there to move the ball, but of course they get in their own way. Again, penalty on Hunter Henry. Ball comes back. They end up kicking a field goal. They use multiple heavy personnel packages the following drive again, and they're moving the football again, and they can't get out of their own way. Mac Jones throws a pick. So their identity is not 12 personnel, 13 personnel, 21 personnel, run it down your throat. Their identity is they are a sloppy football team, period.
Good on you. Good on you, Phil. That was a good, succinct answer, or at least a good summation of what we saw. Defensiveness and individuals seemingly under siege or resigned. You mentioned how it was just an utter feeling of despair for David Andrews. Is the reality setting in, Phil, that this team is literally and legitimately stinky?
Oh, yeah, I think it has to be now. I don't know how you could look at it any other way. Is Bill Belichick looking at that game against the Raiders and saying, man, we're just a couple plays short here? Because it's just between the penalties and the bad situational football and the inability to win on talent alone. I think that realization probably set in weeks ago. But when you have that combined with the sloppiness, I think that's where the resignation sets in.
Do you think Bill realizes he did a horrendous job constructing the team and the roster? Or do you think that and I've covered him for a long time, he is pretty capable of looking at a gray sky and calling it blue, or blaming things that you wouldn't think he would really blame? Excuse making. Do you think that he realizes he did a poor job in staffing this team, especially on the offensive line? Or do you think that he's like, man, if it wasn't for Onwenu's injury and if it wasn't for Cole Strange getting hurt, maybe we screwed up with Riley Reif, but if it wasn't for that, we'd be clicking?
I think that's probably closer to the bone when it comes to what we would hear from Bill. The offensive line's been so banged up. We've had how many different combinations through 6 games starting out there? Mike Onwenu's in uniform, but he's so banged up, we can't even play him. Like, he's just an emergency option at guard for us, I guess. Calvin Anderson, if he doesn't go on the non-football injury list, maybe he's a starting caliber right tackle for us. Who knows? So that I think is what you would get from Bill Belichick. And listen, Tom, any team that deals with injuries to 2 starting guards and the hodgepodge of humans thrown at the right tackle position is going to have a hard time. But I think that would be ignoring the lack of talent they have at receiver, the lack of talent they have on the offensive line. Even when those guys are healthy, I'm not sure it's a great unit.
Mm-hmm.
And so you're just ignoring, you're whistling past the graveyard. If that's
but I do think that Bill, as we're all looking at a team that's so poorly built, when one tackle is completely vacant, you can put a traffic cone out there and have greater success at times. And the other one is a fairly well-paid former Pro Bowl level left tackle who only seems to play in intermittent spurts. You just give a raise to, and that's Trent Brown. It's so poorly constructed when your tackles are bad, your quarterback's immobile with a weak arm, and your wide receivers are slow and average, and you don't have a slot, and you don't have a third down back. It's just so incredibly poorly built. They're not a victim of circumstance. They're not a victim of injury. They set out to build this offense in this fashion and said, good. And I bought in. I thought Bill O'Brien would be the magic wand. He ain't. There are injuries involved, but even if the injuries weren't there, as Michael Hawley pointed out in the postgame, the Patriots are built so that, hey, if everything goes perfect, we might be okay. That's pretty accurate, right?
Yeah, and you just can't expect to win in the NFL with your team built that way. It's an offensive league. It's 2023. It's about explosiveness. It's about playmaking ability. And they want to try to big brain you to death with defense and special teams. And it's just not how the game is played anymore. You could get away with it. And even I think, though, Tom, saying that they got away with it in previous years is mischaracterizing things.
Mm-hmm.
They had a Hall of Fame quarterback, the greatest quarterback of all time. They had a Hall of Fame tight end. They had an all-pro slot receiver at various stages in various different forms. They had real talent on that side of the ball that allowed them to, when combined,
they had a Hall of Fame offensive line coach too.
Hall of Fame offensive line coach. When combined with the high IQ portion of the plan, you put that together, you got the best team in football. Now you don't have either one.
What was most maddening to you, Phil? I'll give you a quick list. The glacial nature of the Patriots' drive when they needed to get in the end zone, the penalties at the end of said drive, the penalties at the beginning, Mac Jones's pick. I guess I'll stop there. Which of the four was?
Are you removing the final drive from the equation? Because the final drive might have been the most maddening thing of all, where you've got a delay if you look at it, a holding and a safety.
And Ramondre Stevenson on the safety. I want you to watch this back because Phil does the report card for us, NBCSportsBoston.com. You'll be able to find it. They used a field level camera from behind Mac. And of course, it's 3rd and 8 or whatever it was.
15. Yeah.
Thank you. I knew it was kind of long. So it's 3rd and 15. So you have a bunch of guys who have to run past the sticks. That takes a second or 2 seconds. But there's siege mentality for Mac. But Ramondre Stevenson is the underneath receiver. And he doesn't even get his head around. He's jogging into his route. And he doesn't even have his head around when Mac is about to get drilled. It was kind of lazy. It was kind of unurgent. And it's inherent among the best players. Where's the urgency to get out there, get in your route, spin your head around, and be available on 3rd and 8? Because you're going to have to run 2 plays because it's do or die.
That's a consistent problem for him. He's a capable pass catcher, but he is not quick getting into his routes and getting his head around. I think Mac Jones hit him in the helmet with a pass a week or two ago because, same thing. And then you had that issue with Devontae Parker earlier in the game on 3rd down, running a slant and just slow motion and one mixtape tour move at the top of the route. And I don't know where Mac threw. Mac ended up throwing it behind him, maybe because he thought he was just going to turn around because it was so slow developing.
Going to hit him with the hezzy. You can't hit him with the hezzy. It's a jailbreak. You have Vidarian against Max Crosby.
Boy, he made it onto my stock down list, which I know people are concerned about, and you can find that on NBCSportsBoston.com if you haven't found it already. But Devontae Parker, the lack of production is one thing. On third down, to just have no urgency into your route, and then at the end of the game, you have a chance to make a game-changing play. It hits you in the hands. It's the kind of play you're on the roster for, one of the few, and you drop it. And I thought Mac Jones didn't do an amazing job at hiding his frustration with Devontae Parker in the postgame after the fact when asked about that play. Hey, we catch that, maybe it changes the game and we win the game. If you don't, it goes the other way. But there was no accountability, it sounds like, from Devontae Parker after the fact,
right,
in the locker room. And so problems on multiple fronts there.
Yeah, we played that sound from Devontae Parker previously, and he basically said, well, what did you see? And it's hard in that situation, Phil, as a reporter, to say, I saw you drop it. And whoever was there said, well, it looked like you might have had your hand on it. And he said, basically, I might have. Yeah, I might have hit my fingers. It's actually what he said. Might have hit my fingers. It hit his right palm. And again, splitting hairs and trying to see if a guy will open a vein at his locker to a bunch of reporters he doesn't know or doesn't care to know or doesn't engage with on a regular basis, it's overrated. But I think what we're seeing is this is the siege mentality that's going to exist on this team right now. And I talked about it in the pregame with the scapegoating will begin. You point at Mac can point at the offensive line. The offensive line can point at Mac's inability to take care of the ball. And then Mac can point at the wide receivers and say they don't get open. And then the whole defense can point at the offense and say, we're doing our job. And then they can all look at Bill Belichick and say, well, we don't have enough good players. Bill can look at his coaches and say, well, these guys aren't coaching you well enough. So this is the hard part. And this is the reality that Bill Belichick has never faced here. He didn't see this in 2000. He was a new coach and he had a very sharp blade and he was swinging it whenever he needed to and sending a message about what the tenor of the team was. This team is going in a direction that Bill has never faced. At least maybe he did in 1995 in Cleveland, but he has never faced it as a head coach here in New England. And that season in Cleveland, I think they were 5-4 and finished 5-11. So at least they had something positive. Bill is encountering his first lost season as a head coach where their optimism is out the door. Snap into action this NFL season with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers get $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place a $5 bet. That's $200 in bonus bets, win or lose. If you've been thinking about joining FanDuel, there's no better time to get in on the action. The app is so easy to use. There's a wide range of betting options, including spreads, player props, over-unders, and more. So visit FanDuel.com/NSBO and kick off the NFL season. FanDuel, official partner of the NFL. 21 plus and present in Mass. Hope is here. First online real money wager only. $10 first deposit required. Bonus issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets that expire 7 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling helpline ma.org or call 800-327-5050 for 24/7 support. Play it smart from the start. GameSenseMA.com or call 1-800-GAM-1234.
Can I ask you a question? Do you think players are taking their cues?
I do.
From Bill Belichick in that, let me put it this way. Is Bill Belichick telling players, hey guys, we're close. We're close. These penalties, I don't know, that one might not have even been a penalty. Devontae, that's a tough catch, man. That's a tough one. So, you'll get the next one. Is he trying to project that kind of message, or are they just taking their cues from him at the podium with us? I kind of doubt that. I don't know even.
I think they might be. I think that they might look. Well, if Bill doesn't answer questions, why do we have to stand out here and take responsibilities for these nerds? If I want to take responsibility, I'll go to Mac and tell him myself. I don't have to open a vein for you idiots. With the fans, what do I care? I'm getting paid either way. I'm not from here. So I think
that's not everybody, right? Like
no. It's certainly not everybody.
Is trying to be accountable. So it's not everybody, but it is interesting to me just how they're viewing their coach and how they're following him in this moment.
Yep. And I think that I can't predict how Bill is with them in private because I've never seen Bill in these situations. I know that Bill Parcells, as Ted Johnson was just saying as we were finishing up post-game live, Parcells wasn't that bad when the team was horrible. He had a 5-11 team in 1995 that was after a playoff season in 1994, that Ted's rookie year, and Parcells, he said, wasn't that bad. They did have some landmark wins in there, wins you could hang your hat on. I think they beat Buffalo on a Sunday evening or something like that. But this team is so beyond. I mean, are they going to show up and play against Buffalo, or are they going to get boat raced? Same thing with Miami down there in the heat. Then they're going to see teams like the Commanders and the Giants and the Jets again, who are all going to look at the Patriots and the Colts in Germany, and then a bye week. And they're all going to look at that Patriots team and say, they are dysfunctional. It's a chance for us to win. If you're Shane Steichen and you're a first-year coach and you're going to Germany to play the Patriots, and the Patriots have to sit on a plane for that long together knowing that they're miserable, ooh, that's not going to be a good recipe. Let me ask you this, Phil. It's Dolphins, Bills, and trade deadline. Will Bill Belichick, and we're going to get into this much more during the week because it's fascinating because it'll say a lot. Will Bill Belichick be a seller or a buyer or a sit on his handser at the trade deadline? And if you're Robert Kraft, would you put a lock on the cupboard and say, you're not making these decisions, we're not sure if you're going to be back?
Or if you're Robert Kraft, are you going to Bill Belichick and saying, there's no lock on the cupboard because I'm making the decisions now? You're going to sell. We're rebuilding. We need as many draft picks as we can get. We need young pieces next offseason. I don't know if you're going to be the guy picking the players for us, but you need to be trading anyone of value right now. That is not part of our long-term
That's
future.
Onwenu. Like, roll through these with me. It's Onwenu. It's Uche. It's Duggar. It's Bourne. I'm not saying to trade these guys. I'm just saying that these are guys who have value around the league, who are up or close to
Henry,
Mac Jones.
Captain.
Mac
Jones have value, as a trade chip?
I bet he would.
You think so?
But I bet it wouldn't yield a one.
Oh, no,
it might yield a third. You only get two.
Really?
You're only getting 2 years of. Yeah, I think a third.
You do get 2 years of him. There's term on his deal. So if there's somebody who sees, who knows? Maybe these guys here, they look at Jimmy Garoppolo and say he's hurt all the time, and Mac Jones knows our system, and we could figure that out. So
maybe I'm crazy.
That's what's interesting to me is where is Robert Kraft's head on this? Does he step away to the point where he says, okay, whether or not Bill is our coach come 2024 is going to be because I know every decision he made in 2023 was his decision, but do you want to give him, like you said, the keys to the future in that way? That's a tough one for me, but if you're Tom, they're looking at 1-7 in a few weeks here.
Yep.
They should be if they're realistic with themselves, they should be sellers. And I went into nitty gritty on Next Pats about why specifically, especially when it comes to the compensatory pick formula. Very briefly, that's based on free agents out and free agents in. They have $100 million plus in cap space. They're going to be bringing free agents in. They might not get any comp picks for any of the guys who leave. So rather than let them walk for nothing, why wouldn't you try to trade them before the deadline, get something for them, and then spend willy-nilly in free agency and don't worry about losing, third and fourth round comp picks that you might be getting back.
And that also leads to the question of who's running the personnel department when you spend willy-nilly. Because Matt Groh was involved a couple of years ago, and Bill obviously was involved in 2021. And if you look at the haul from the 2021 free agent spending, you got a kick-ass pass rusher in Matt Judon. Awesome job. You got a better than average B-grade useful tight end in Hunter Henry. You got a wide receiver you still haven't figured out how to unlock in Kendrick Bourne, but you're trying. Then you had a disastrous ad with Jonnu Smith, a disastrous ad with Nelson Aguilar. So you got 2.5 out of 5 correct. But you
Devon
spend
Godshaw's in there, your guy Devon Godshaw.
Oh, yeah, Devon Godshaw, who irritates me. It's not Devon does not irritate me. It's just Bill billed him as one of the best defensive tackles in the league. And he's another player who just got a raise last year prior to the season. Trent Brown just got a raise. Devontae Parker just got a raise. And Jacoby Myers is catching touchdowns on your face. And these guys are getting the raises. I would not trust Bill right now to run anything relative to the personnel, nor would I trust his personnel people. It's not just 2023. It's 2022. It's 2021. But what about Kyle Duggar? What about Onwenu? Great. Fine. What about Bob Moore? What about you thought Mac Jones was good? Mac Jones was a batting practice fastball. The team that was drafting second, third, the San Francisco 49ers wanted him. And if he was there, we would never heard of friggin' Brock Purdy, most likely. And we'd be talking about, wow, Mac's got to get it to Kittle if Kittle wants to have another 100-yard game. Anyway, I'm babbling now. But I wouldn't trust Bill with anything relative to 2024 decision-making right now. I mean, it is in limbo. Not saying it's not going to happen, but I would throw the whole thing in limbo.
Can I ask you another question here, which is just entering into my brain? If you're Robert Kraft and you're wondering about how to proceed here, with everything we're talking about, do I let Bill decide who we trade and don't trade? Do I let him decide what's good value on these guys? If we win 4 games here and he's not the coach next year, do I want him making those calls? Who is Robert Kraft talking to about these decisions? Is it just Jonathan? Is there another football person that he would lean on in this situation? Because he's been obviously so linked to Bill Belichick for 20 years and all of Bill Belichick's disciples. So who in football might Robert Kraft go to, or who is formerly in football might Robert Kraft go to that's not in some way indebted to Bill and could provide a real, truthful, honest sort of assessment of the situation here?
And that's the sticky situation for Robert, because while he might have people all over the league that he could pick up the phone to, if it's somebody that he is intimately familiar with, like say it's a former personnel guy who wants to call Thomas Dimitroff, Bill will smoke that out. Bill smoked out Mac talking to Alabama coaches or whatever he allegedly did. I mean, now it's part of the urban legend that that's what he actually did. I don't know that for a fact, but that's what everyone, people in the building included, believed to have happened. But Bill found that out because somebody's going to rat. Somebody's going to rat to Bill. He values nothing more than deep state secrets. So if Robert's going to start back channeling, he might as well front channel, because Bill's going to find out about the back channeling. So who would he speak to? He would speak to somebody that he trusts. Now, a long time ago, this is what Robert Kraft tends to do. And I found this out in 2000 when I spoke to someone, and two individuals, and they told me that Robert Kraft had approached them about Drew Bledsoe and said, do we really think he's the guy? Do we want to go ahead with Bledsoe? Do we want to give him all that money? And I wrote that story in the fall of 2000. And I had two people who would know exactly how Robert Kraft thought at that time. And Robert Kraft called together the Providence Journal, Boston Globe, and Boston Herald and disputed that story. And soon thereafter, he signed Bledsoe to a 10-year, $103 million contract that included a trapdoor to get out of it. What was explained to me by people around the Patriots was that, well, Robert does that to try and get people's honest opinions on things. And he'll frame things in a negative way to see if somebody will make a case to support. So it's a long roundabout way of me kind of talking about something that happened a long time ago to help you understand philosophically how Robert might do things. He will ask for input. Who's he going to ask for input? Is it Jonathan, as you said? Is it Dimitroff? Is it drop a line to Caserio, find out how he feels about it? Is it
Pioli, maybe?
Spielman? Is it Scott Pioli? It's a hard spot to be in if you're Robert Kraft, because do you go to Gerard Mayo? Because, Bill will go up his ass, both of them, both asses at once. For the, perceived betrayal. So how do you plan? Because check this out, Phil, watch this. November, December, January, February, March. 5 months, free agency starts. The middle of March. The Patriots are going to have 5 months to prepare for another boon in which they have more money than anybody else to spend in free agency. And they got Bill still wandering around with the checkbook in his pocket. No question there.
My inclination, my initial thought here is that I think Robert would like the idea of some continuity. Some. I think he likes the idea of Gerard Mayo as a head coach. Gerard Mayo passed up a head coaching opportunity this past offseason to stay in New England. So that would represent some sort of continuity if that ever were to happen. I think he likes some of what's happened in the personnel department. Outside of that 2021 free agent class, which he panned, maybe a couple of years after it happened. But how many times has he talked up the drafts, Tom? I think maybe he believes in Matt Groh's ability to draft and evaluate and some of the people underneath Matt Groh. And so maybe he would go to Matt Groh and say, hey, I'm asking you. I'm not asking Bill. I'm not asking what Bill would want. I'm asking you, what do you think we should do before the deadline here? We're 1-6 or whatever it will be at that point in time. What should we do? And maybe he's evaluating his own people outside of Bill that are in leadership positions inside the building to try to figure out, in the way he was trying to figure out if he wanted to roll with Drew Bledsoe back in 2000. Do I really want to go with Matt Groh as my future GM? Maybe that's the kind of thing that's going on right now. I think it should be, Tom. I think these are the kinds of hard conversations that you have to have, because this is an opportunity. This trade deadline is an opportunity to build whatever it is that's coming with your organization's future. This is a chance to help yourself out in 2024 and 2025. Are you not willing to do that because you want to make 2023 look as nice as it can look?
Yeah. Do we want to get to 6 wins? Do we want to pretend we're going to get to 7? I mean, what do they have to do to get to 7? They're 1-5. They're going to be 1-7. So they have to win all 9 to get to the playoffs. Okay. You know what? On that note, Phil's in Las Vegas. He probably wants to wrap it up, at least in the pod, because he works his ass off, and he's going to fly back here, and he has the breakdown tomorrow night with Ted Johnson. So we don't have time for theorizing and hypothesizing.
That'll be a doozy. The breakdown, 6:00. See you there.
Couldn't be more thankful to work with a guy like Phil.
Appreciate you. Going to go over to the Las Vegas, the Harry Reid International Airport. Write a report card, red eye home, and be bright-eyed and bushy-tailed for the breakdown at 6:00.
All right, it's 6:30. I think you're actually going to be able to make that happen, because what time's your red eye? 11:30 your time?
10:00 my time, but I got 3.5 hours. It's about a 15-minute Uber.
All right. Let's get you the hell out of here. Thank you, as always, Skull Crusher. Thanks for quarterbacking. Folks, we'll be back with you on Tuesday. Boy, does my hair look good for those of you looking on YouTube. That's Dr. Matthew Lepresti, actually, Leonard Hair Transplant Associates. See ya.